Good afternoon, dear students. Now, in yesterday's class, I was telling you about collective bargaining. I will just revise about that. So, as I already told you in yesterday's class, that collective bargaining was a concept that was used in the year 1891. Okay, that is, Butrick Webb was the founder of this particular concept, and that too in Britain. But by the time collective bargaining was introduced in India, it was quite late. That is, from 1962 onwards, this concept of collective bargaining became popular. And students, as I already told you in yesterday's class, collective bargaining, it is an agreement. Okay, this agreement will basically be between the representative of the employees as well as the representatives of the employers. They sit together. There will be a face-to-face discussion, and they will try to discuss on various issues regarding employment. It may be with regard to the working condition, it may be with regard to the salary, it may be with regard to other terms and conditions of employment. They sit together face to face in order to make some negotiations. And I also told you the basic objective of collective bargaining is in order to provide an opportunity to for the workers also to voice. That means to say, every time it should not be that only the management will be taking the decision, but because of collective bargaining, you will be having the representatives from both the parties, and that is why the workers will be having an opportunity to raise their voice. I mean, and to voice out whatever is their issues, they can tell out. And also, it helps in maintaining cordial relationship. And dear students, first of all, if there is, collective bargaining, the chances of going for a strike will definitely be reduced. Okay, because they are going to negotiate at the initial stage itself, and henceforth, I told you that collective bargaining will help in preventing strike. And also, we discussed about the various types of collective bargaining. Yes, I told you that there are five main types of collective bargaining. And in that first one, I told you will be having the distributive bargaining is there, and then you have integrative bargaining, productive bargaining, composite bargaining, as well as concessionary bargaining. So I told you about each of these. Let me just brief you. So what happens in case of this distributive bargaining is that it is a zero sum negotiation. That means to say, one side is going to win and the other side is going to lose. Okay, so that means to say, one party, that is either the representative of the workers or the representative of the management, one is going to win, whereas the other party is going to lose. Then I also told you yesterday about the integrative bargaining. See, in case of integrative bargaining, students, what happens is that it is a win-win situation for both of them. So what happens is both the parties will enter into a mutual agreement, and they will try to see to that both the parties can win. And then I also told you about productive bargaining. So, in case of productive bargaining, the main intention of this bargaining is to increase the productivity. Okay, so the main idea of having this collective bargaining, which is productive in nature, is that they want to increase the productivity so that they can think of increasing their sales as well. Okay, and then I told you about the next type of bargaining also. I told you about the composite bargaining. So dear students, as I mentioned to you in yesterday's class, see, composite bargaining will focus on matters which is other than the pay scale. It is not going to focus on anything with regard to the payment of the employees. Rather than that, it is going to focus on aspects like employee welfare, their job security, the working conditions of the employees, the recruitment policies, the disciplinary process. All such issues will be discussed in case of composite bargaining. And dear students, again, I told you about concessionary bargaining. See, in case of concessionary bargaining, what happens? the union will be ready to give back one of the benefits which is already existing to the employees. And the intention here is that, for example, now let us say there is no job security for the employees, so the trade unions may say that it is okay even if our present salary is being reduced, but try to provide us with job security, because job security is going to give peace of mind to the employees. They can concentrate and give the full of their abilities, to the full of the abilities they can work. Okay. And then, dear students, we also started with the next concept. I told you about the different stages that are involved in collective bargaining. I told you that you have the preparatory phase will be there, the discussion phase, then you have the proposal phase, you have the settlement, the formalizing of agreement, and also the enforcing of agreement. I think we had stopped there. And I also told you, dear students, that whenever it comes to the different phases of collective bargaining, so once the decision has been entered into, so the decisions that have been taken will be for the mutual benefit of both the parties, and both the parties will have to accept whatever agreement has been agreed upon, okay, in the collective bargaining. And we had come to the end of the topic of collective bargaining. We had to start with this is about the principles of collective bargaining, again a very important topic. Now, dear students, talking about the concept of the principles of collective bargaining, I told you that first of all, collective bargaining is a very, very important concept, because the chances of dispute, the chances of going in for a strike can be reduced, and even the chances of lockouts can be reduced once you think about this collective bargaining. But dear students, please keep in mind there are certain principles that has to be followed whenever this collective bargaining has been in practice. Now, what are the principles of collective bargaining for the management? Okay, that is one thing that we need to consider. See, when it comes to the management's point of view, what principles they have to follow. See, the management, rather than waiting for the trade unions to bring the employees grievances, they should create a very, conducive atmosphere. That means to say, rather than the trade unions coming and asking for the requirements of the employees, the management should be having such an atmosphere in the organization that the employees themselves should feel free to go and approach the management with regard to any of their issues. Okay. And the management should only deal with one trade union. Okay. That means to say, now today the problem is that there are many trade unions, and one trade union may conflict with the other. So it is always better, in case there is one trade union which is there to protect the interest of the employees in a particular organization. And then they must form and follow realistic labor policies. Yes, dear students, when the management frames any type of labor policies, it must be realistic in nature, and they should treat the trade unions fairly. Please keep in mind, any organization for that matter, it is their very important responsibility to give due importance to the trade union, because they happen to be the representative of the employees. That is why they should give a lot of importance to the trade unions, and they should regularly check the rules and regulations to determine the comfort of the employees. Okay, so the management should not put the employees to rage, and then you go in for a dispute. Rather than that, they should be in good terms with the trade unions, and they must agree to reform the trade union without any reservation. The management should always be very approachable, rather than every time incurring some disputes. Okay, then what are the principles that have to be followed by the trade unions? The trade unions should eliminate racketeering and other undemocratic practices. That means to say, the trade unions, of course, they will be having the power, and because they are the representatives of the employees, all that is there. But still, They should not go for any type of illegal practices. Okay, and trade union leaders should resort to strike only when all other methods of settlement of dispute has failed. That means to say, dear students, see, the trade union, of course, the workers know very clearly that the strike happens to be their weapons in the hands of the employees. But still, the trade union, every now and then, they should not go for a strike. That is not a good practice at all. They should try to settle the disputes by other methods. Now, as I told you, collective bargaining is one of the best ways by which you can sit and negotiate and solve your problem, rather than every now and then thinking of going in for a strike. So the trade unions should avoid strikes as much as possible. Okay. And the trade union leaders should not imagine that their only function is to secure higher wages, shorter hours of work, and better condition. That means to say, every now and then the trade unions should not go and fight with the management, telling them that no, we want a hike in the salary, we want better working conditions, we want lesser hour of work. Means, it means to say, even though there are demands of the employees, you should also see what is the condition of the management also. See, for example, whenever there is an economic crisis, now if the economic situation of the country is not good, obviously the companies will not be performing well. During that time, even the companies will not be in a position to sell their products, they will not be in a position to make a profit. During this time, if the employees every now and then take the support of trade unions and ask for a rise in the salary, the management will definitely not be able to meet their demands. So, trade unions should also understand their limitations. Okay, and trade union leaders should assist in removal of restrictive rules that are likely to increase the cost and price and reduce the amount that can be paid out as wages. That means to say, just now, as I told you, they should, as trade unions, they should also consider from the point of view of the management. Okay, what is their present situation? They should not think of simply increasing the cost for the management. Okay, then the principles of union and management. So in general, what are the principles that has to be followed in collective bargaining by the trade unions and the management? Collective bargaining should be made an education well as bargaining process. Okay, so it is an educative process. Why? Because rather than going in for a dispute, for a strike, or rather than going for a lockout, you're trying to educate the employees, you're trying to inculcate the management, you're trying to negotiate with each other. And then it should offer to trade union leaders an opportunity to present to the management. Of course, the trade unions, they will be having an opportunity to present all their requests in front of the management, and they should be honest, able, and responsible leadership. Okay, so just because you are the members of the trade unions, it doesn't mean that you should not exhibit good leadership style. You should definitely have a good leadership style. Okay, and you should be very honest, you should be responsible, you should also know how to approach the management in order to place your demands. And dear students, they must be mutual confidence and faith. Always remember, first of all, this subject is about industrial relationship. It is mainly with regard to mutual confidence, okay, and also good faith. So there should be a good faith and a mutual confidence that should exist between the management as well as the employees. Now, dear students, after telling you so much about collective bargaining, let us see what are the advantages of collective bargaining and what are the drawbacks. See, first of all, dear students, it provides security to the workers. So, what are the advantages of collective bargaining? The main advantage of collective bargaining is that it provides security to the workers. Okay, so they are legally binding agreements. The employees can be sure of their work conditions. So you know that because of collective bargaining, the representatives of the workers are going to place forward their demands, and so they will be having a sense of security. And the next very important advantage, dear students, it is going to prohibit the strike. As I told you, collective bargaining prevents the employees from going for a strike. I have already told you what do you mean by strike, right? It is a temporary cessation of work. And there are so many different types of strikes, dear students. But one thing is, when the employees go for a strike, the productivity of the organization will be affected. That is why collective bargaining is one of the technique which prevents the employees from going in for a strike, and it gives employees a voice. Yes, of course. Okay, I told you, see, the employees must not be considered like slaves. No, gone are those days. They must also be given a chance to open their mouth and to speak out, and collective bargaining is providing them with that. Okay, because of collective bargaining, employees are also in a position to say out whatever is their feelings, whatever is their demands, they're able to express that. And then reduced bias and favoritism. All too often you heard stories about someone getting additional benefits, right? So this is greatly reduced. That means to say, once there is collective bargaining, the chances of favoritism can be reduced. Why? Because the trade unions are going to speak on behalf of all the workers, okay, in the organization. So in that way, it can reduce the bias in the organization. Okay, so the main idea of having collective bargaining, dear students, is with the intention of bringing about unity and more of understanding, to reduce the disputes, to provide security to the workers. But of course, whenever there's an advantage, you will also have some demerits. One is, not all people will agree. That means to say, collective bargaining caters to the needs of many and disagrees with the few. That means, although we are speaking from yesterday that in collective bargaining, the idea is to have mutual understanding, both the parties sit together and they face to face communicate. Even then, please keep in mind, all the people will not agree with everything. So, what will happen is, there are chances, okay, that this and that means to say, there are chances that some people may agree with certain issues discussed, some people may oppose the issues that are discussed, so they may not fall in line all the time. And a loss of authority. When the employee knows exactly how much power management has, and has say in things that they can and cannot do, their role as the authority figure is greatly diminished. See, and also sometimes what happens, even when you look at the management, also the management may not be so much favorable in case of collective bargaining, because they always feel that we are the people who are at the helm of affairs. Okay, we are the people who are at the top level, so why should we sit and discuss with the employees and try to ask for their demands, okay, and settle them down. So that type of a feeling may also be there with the management, because of which, that is, they may not be so much of collective bargaining becoming successful. So dear students, these are some of the concepts that you need to know about collective bargaining. Again, let me mention to you a very, very, very important concept from your exam point of view. So, what you need to do is, whenever you're writing something about collective bargaining, write about the introduction of collective bargaining, give a definition, and you can say about when exactly this concept was introduced. As I told you, it was started in Britain, and later on it came down to India in the period of almost 1962. It was quite late, and I've already told you what is the objectives of having collective bargaining, which are the different types of collective bargaining, what are the advantages, the disadvantages. I also told you the different stages that are involved in collective bargaining. So all these together constitutes about collective bargaining. Now, dear students, let us discuss another very important concept. This is again a concept which will most of the time appear for 10 and 15 marks. Okay, this concept is about workers' participation in the management. Again, let me mention to you a very, very important concept from your exam point of view. So, what is this WPM? See, WPM is nothing but workers' participation in management. Yes, dear students, as I was telling you right from the first class itself, okay, that is before the Factories Act of 1948 was introduced, the condition of the workers was pathetic. I told you that they were not having proper working conditions, they were not having proper salary, okay? And then they had to work for long hours for very less amount of salary that was paid to them. All these problems they were facing, and absolutely the management would never consider any type of opinions and suggestions from the employees, okay? But then later on, there arose the question, why shouldn't the employees take part in the management decision? That means to say, see, every now and then there will be some important decisions that will be taken place in an organization. So, whenever these important decisions have been taking place, why should the management not encourage the employees to take part in that? That question actually came uh, in view. That is why the concept of workers' participation of management came into existence. Now, dear students, what is the meaning of this workers' participation in management? A system of communication and consultation, either formally or informally, by which the employees of an organization are kept informed about the affairs of the undertaking, and they can express their opinion and contribute to the management decision. Yes, dear students, workers' participation in management means to say that, first of all, there should be transparency. Now, the management should clearly tell the employees about the affairs that is happening. Okay, what about the what are the activities that are happening in the organization? All that should be brought to the notice of the employees also. And whenever any type of an important decision has to be taken, the management must definitely consult whom? They have to consult the employees of the organization. And why should they consult the employees? Very simple. First of all, the employees happens to be the asset of the organization. And as I was mentioning to you from the first day, please keep in mind Infosys, Wipro, Tata Consultancy, all those companies which are doing well are not just doing well because of very good managers in the organization. They are doing well also because of the sweat of the employees. Every day they are putting in efforts. So the management should encourage the employees to give their decisions, to give their opinions. Okay, see, what will happen if you consult your employees is that, as I told you, first of all, employees will be very youngsters. They'll be having their own skills, they'll be having their own talents. With the help of this, they will give some very creative ideas which can definitely be used by the management. So when you take an important decision, rather than unanimously taking a decision, it is always advisable that the management will consult the employees. Okay, and dear students, please keep in mind, when you say workers participation in the management, what type of participation is expected? Participation means mental and emotional involvement. Okay, so participation does not mean that physically you should just call the employee and make him to sit. That is not the expectation. You should involve the employees mentally and emotionally. They should also be given a chance to give their opinions and their advice with regard to the decisions in the organization. And dear students, workers participation in management, okay, it must not be individually but also as a group. Take the opinion of all the employees in the organization, encourage them, try to give them a chance to give their suggestions, their valuable suggestions and inputs. It will definitely be worth considering. Okay, and dear students, see, this workers participation in management can be in a formal manner or an informal manner, but consult them. Now let us say the manager, if he consults one of the senior employee, it is not going to be any loss of his image. What he can do, he can consult an employee who's having lot of years of experience, take his suggestion in order to make a decision. Okay, so this is about the features of collective bargaining. Coming to the objective, dear students, why do you think, what is the idea behind this workers participation in management? The objective is the productivity of the enterprise may be increased. Yes, dear students, obviously when the employees feel that yes, whatever suggestions we are giving, that has also been considered, the employees will start to feel that yes, the organization belongs to us, we are a part of such an organization. So what they will do, they'll try to give better of their efforts, so the productivity is going to increase in the organization. Apart from that, dear students, the employees may be properly conveyed their role. So once the workers' participation in management is encouraged, so every worker's role will be clearly defined, and there will be expression, there will be industrial peace and harmony, because the manager is not taking the decision all by himself. Now, dear students, the objectives of workers' participation in management can be divided into different types, like the social objective. What is the social objective of workers' participation in management? To reduce the labor problems, okay, and to create a healthy atmosphere, to bring in industrial peace, to create mutual faith and cooperation. As I told you, see, once you give importance to the employees, definitely they will be happy. You can increase your production, you can have mutual faith and understanding with the employees. What is the economic objective? Productivity can increase. Now the employees are happy, they will increase the productivity. Once the productivity increases, the company will be in a position to earn more profit. Once you make more profit, you can increase the salary also of the employees, and you can reduce absenteeism and labor turnover. Yes, dear students, when the employees feel that yes, whatever suggestion I'm giving, the management is considering, they will definitely think of reducing absenteeism, because they love to come to the place of work. And also labor turnover, that means to say the chances of employees leaving the organization can also be completely reduced. Okay, that is the idea of workers' participation in management. And of course, psychological objective, yes, of course, psychologically, the employees will feel so happy that yes, whatever suggestions are given by me, the management is considering. They'll have a sense of loyalty again towards the management. Then there will be industrial democracy. Why? Because there is a freedom given to the employees in order to express their opinions and suggestions. So that is why definitely even the management will be very happy with the employees, and the employees also on the other hand can be happy with the management. Okay, that is again the idea. Then dear students, talking about, just a minute. Yes. What are the conditions for the success of? Now, if there should be workers' participation in the management, which should happen in a successful manner, what are the prerequisites for that? See, efforts should be made to minimize inequality in income of the workers. Yes, of course, very important. First of all, treating one employee in one manner, treating the other employee in the other manner, giving one a higher wages, giving the other one a lower wages, that should be avoided. Only then the employees will have a sense of security and they will try to involve. And working conditions should also be improved. Efforts should be made to improve the standard of living of the workers. What I'm trying to tell you is, when all this is provided to the employees, they will also start feeling that I should also give my opinion, my suggestions to the management. I should also participate. Okay. So you should give an opportunity to the workers to express their problems and grievances. Okay. And whenever a profit is earned by the organization, try to share the profits among the employees in the form of bonus. And then employees counseling should also be encouraged. That means to say, dear students, see, today many of the employees are having lot of health issues, they are having many psychological problems. So counseling should also be arranged in the organization. That time the employees will feel that yes, I should also participate in making management decisions. Why? Because the employer is making so much of efforts to solve my problems. Okay. And workers should be free from their union or association. That means to say, rather than the the employees approaching the trade unions, making the issues bigger, the management themselves should create a conducive atmosphere of faith and confidence so that the employees will also feel like contributing. So, adequate facilities, training, education, all these should be provided to the employees so that they will be very happy with the management and they're going to participate in taking very good decisions. Now, dear students, apart from this, what you need to know very importantly in workers participation in management is, this is again a very important concept, there are different forms of workers participation in management. Which are they? First one is suggestion scheme. Okay, so now what happens in the suggestion scheme? I think you've seen this in most of the places. A suggestion box will be there, and the workers can write a suggestion and drop them in a box. So what will happen now? Of course, you need not mention your name, or sometimes they may be given an option to mention your name. So in this suggestion box, you can put a suggestion inside the box. So the management will make it a practice to every now and then to read whatever suggestions is given by the employees so that they can incorporate that for making any type of a management decision. Okay, that can be one method of workers participation in management. Now, dear student, this is another one, works committee. See, works committee deals with the matters of day-to-day functioning. Okay, like the condition of work. Now see, ventilation, lighting, sanitation, drinking water facilities, canteen facilities, medical and health facilities. These are some of the basic requirements for the workers. So in works committee, what happens is that they will try to encourage the workers to talk about these issues, whether they are happy with the facilities that have been provided, or do they want any type of a changes to be made in the facilities provided, or any improvement to be provided. So these issues will be discussed in the works committee. Coming to the next one, the Joint Management Council. Dear students, in this Joint Management Council, basically wages, bonus, some of the personal problems of the workers are outside the scope of Joint Management Council. This Joint Management Council mainly gives importance to accident prevention concept, okay, then revision of rules of work, absenteeism, indisciplinary. So whenever here, when it comes to this workers participation in management decision, when a joint management council has been constituted, here the issues that are discussed is mainly with regard to safety. Now, dear students, please keep in mind, initially there was not much safety that was provided to the industrial workers. Okay, but now lot of safety programs have been organized so that the employees will feel confident to work in the organization. So what you need to keep in mind is, in this joint management council, accident prevention issues, and then the rules and regulations of the work, absenteeism, let us say frequent absenteeism is happening in the organization, such issues, and if there is any indisciplinary issues that has to be discussed, that will be discussed in the joint management council. And dear students, with regard to work directors, see, one or two representatives of the workers are nominated. Okay, in case of work directors, it is nothing but, so there will be one or two persons from the workers who will be representing the workers. They go and discuss with the management. Okay, then co-partnership. Yes, co-partnership is again a very important type of workers participation in management. Dear students, in this what happens is, see, you know very clearly the employees are of course the asset for the organization, but if you allow them to become the shareholders of the organization, don't you think it will be a big benefit for them? Yes. Now, in co partnership, how are they going to encourage the workers to participate in management decision? By becoming the co owner of the organization. That means to say, some of the shares of the organization will be issued to the employees. the employees can purchase those shares. Once they purchase the shares, it means to say they are also a co-owner of that organization. So that is also one of the ways of involving the employees to participate in management decision. And the last one, dear students, you have shop council. See, shop council represents each department. Okay, so in each department, there will be some representatives of the workers and the employees. They're going to sit together and they're going to discuss on certain issues so that they can come to a final conclusion. Now, apart from that, what is the advantages of workers' participation in management? Of course, they want to increase the production. There should be mutual faith, trust, and understanding. The entire subject of industrial relationship is only about creating mutual faith, trust, understanding. The morale of the employees, that means the motivation of the employees, will improve because their decisions, their suggestions, their advices will be considered by the management. So it helps in bringing about industrial peace in the organization. So, dear students, so this much is important under workers' participation in management decision. So, one of the very important concept which is very important for 15 marks is workers' participation in management decisions. Other than that, if you go through some of the previous question papers which will be uploaded shortly, please keep in mind another very important concept is trade unions. Okay, now, dear students, see about trade unions, I'll not be telling you too much because in the previous classes itself, I've told you what is a trade union. But please keep in mind that about trade unions, you can expect a 10 or a 15 marks question. Okay, now I've already told you trade unions happens to be the representatives of the employees. They are going to fight for the welfare of the employees in the organization. So, and why these trade unions are very important? Why do the employees join the trade union? Very simple. Employees join the trade union so that they have a better bargaining power. Whatever is their problem, they can put forward with the trade unions. That is why the employees join the trade union. They can reduce discrimination. Okay, see, if any one employee is facing any type of a discrimination, he can go and put the issue with the trade union. The trade unions will solve the problem, and there will be a sense of security for the employees, and there'll be a sense of belongingness. The employees know that if they have a problem, they can approach the trade union. They are always there for their support, so they will have a sense of belongingness and they can have a platform for expression. You have any type of your problem, you can express with the trade union, and there can be better relationship between the employer and the employee because of the existence of the trade unions. And dear students, as I mentioned to you, see, trade unions, they have certain different types of functions that they perform. What are the different functions? See, the first one is the militant function. That means to say, the trade unions under this militant function, they try to fight for higher wages and better working condition. Then they try to raise the status of the workers. They want the status of the employees in the organization to improve. They protect the workers against injustice. Okay, that is the functions under militant. Now, what you need to do is, whenever you're writing about trade union, first of all, you should know why exactly trade unions were established, what are the functions of the trade unions, what are the objectives of having these trade unions. It's very important. Now, coming to the fraternal functions, the trade unions provides opportunity for promotion and growth, and it encourages sincerity among the workers. It also tries to bring about confidence in the minds of the workers. Okay, with regard to social function, they help in addressing the grievances. They provide education to the employees, and there will be some publications of union documents such as newsletters or magazines, which helps in having a binding with the members in the organization. So, dear students, about trade union, as I already told you, first of all, please keep in mind trade unions are the representatives of the employees. They try to work for the benefit of the employees feel very very happy and secured because the trade unions are very much there to safeguard their interest. Okay, and I told you about some of the functions. And dear students, see, there's one more slide here. This is again important. Now there are many trade unions in India. What you need to do is you can collect the information of each of these trade unions. How, I mean, for example, see, you have the Indian National Trade Union Congress. So what you should do, collect information about when it was started, what are the functions of this particular trade union. Okay, so this is again very important in your exam point of view. You have All India Trade Union Congress, the Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh is there, you have the Hind Mazdoor Sangh, the United Trade Union Congress is there, and of course, the Center of Indian Trade Unions is also there. So, as I mentioned to you, try to collect complete information about each of these trade unions. It's very important. And now, dear students, the last topic which I'm going to discuss again, in each of the industrial relationship paper, you will definitely have a question about industrial labor organization. Very 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 important from your exam point of view. Dear students, the International Labour Organization was founded in the year April 1919. Okay, and what was this reason of having this International Labour Organization is that, see, there was the condition of the workers was pathetic. See, that is why here in the slide, if you can see, in response to the humanitarian concern over the condition of the workers. It means to say, dear students, when they looked at the condition of the workers all over the world, it was very pathetic. They were treated like slaves, working for more than 8 hours in a day, and then the wages was so less, no proper lighting, no proper ventilation. They were almost working in a dungeon. All this really initiated the formation of the International Labor Organization. Okay, now what your people should know is, the first of all, the basic idea of having ILO was, okay, it was having an intention that, first of all, the employees should be treated as human beings. Okay, whatever exploitation was faced by the employees should not continue. That was the basic idea of having ILO. Of course, the International Labor Organization, it was started in the year 1919, but at present it has its head office at Geneva, Switzerland. Okay, and dear students, role of IRO, one of the most important questions in the examination. So whenever you're writing about ILO, you have to mention about what are the objectives of ILO. See, International Labor Organization wants to bring about full employment situation and raising the standard of living. Dear students, keep one thing in mind. Why is there so much of robbery happening in the country? Robbery happens only when the people don't have their own source of income. So, if they have their own source of income, obviously the chances of such theft will be reduced. So, what ILO decided is, we should provide as much employment opportunities as is possible, and you should give them good salary so that the standard of living of the people will improve. Ensure employment in which workers are in full satisfaction. So the employees who are working in the organization should be very happy with the work that they are doing, and they should be satisfied. Facilities for training. Yes, dear students, see, as I was mentioning to you in the first class, see, as commerce students, you may be knowing about banking, you may be knowing about a check, you may be knowing about a passbook, you may be knowing about what is insurance and things like that, but only when you go and work there you will know what practically it is. So that is why training is one of the essential elements for any employee to work well. So what an organization should do is, they should think of providing proper training facilities to the employees. And then they should also think about the policies with regard to wages, that is, proper wages should be paid. good working conditions should be provided. And the ILO, gave emphasis to collective bargaining. See, even the ILO was very much in favor of the concept of collective bargaining. It clearly said that negotiations should happen between the employee and the employer. And then protection of life and health of workers. Yes, very true. See, previously the workers were working in factories where they used to, die because of an industrial accidents. They were losing their hands, their legs because of industrial accidents. So ILO decided that we should give protection to their life and also to the health of the employees. And of course, provision for child and maternity protection. Yes, dear students, you might have read in the labor legislation subject about Maternity Benefit Act. So, what ILO decided, they wanted to provide protection to the women employees. Okay, so maternity benefits were given to her. They wanted to provide child welfare facilities to the employees' children's. Okay, and then adequate nutrition, housing facilities. They also concentrated, and they also gave assurance of equality of education. So, dear students, these were the main objective or the role of ILO. And please keep in mind, International Labor Organization has some fundamental principles which is very very important. See, labor is not a commodity, worker is not a commodity. That means you should not think him as using it and throwing whenever you do not want. No, he is an asset. Freedom of expression should be there. Poverty acts as a danger for prosperity. Okay, so poverty should be eradicated by giving employment. And then they also said that workers and employers should enjoy equal status of free discussion. Okay, there should be democracy, there should be freedom of expression given to the employer and employees. And dear students, ILO happens to be a tripartite body. Okay, so it is a representative of the employer, the laborers, that is workers, and also the government. At present, almost 183 nations are the members of ILO. Now, coming to the next and the very important concept, dear students, it is about the structure of International Labour Organization. Please remember, International Labour Organization has got three main, performing bodies. One is the International Labour Conference. Next one is the governing body. Next one is the International Labour Office. See, this is a small chart. It is clearly showing that the structure of ILO has got three different bodies. Okay. Now, coming to the International Labour Conference, dear students, it is the apex body of the ILO. Apex means it is the main, okay, other important body of the International Labour Organization. It is going to make labor policies. Okay, the policies will be made by the International Labour Conference. And what does it do? Every now and then sessions will be held. Okay, so at least for a period of once in a year, sessions will be conducted. And what they do, they try to make some labor policies, or they try to make some amendment to the labor policies. And the delegates from all the three groups will come for the session. Who are the three groups? You must have the government representatives, you must have the representatives of the employers, you should also have the representatives of the workers. Okay, all these three parties are going to attend, okay, that particular meeting or session. And as I told you, International Labour Conference is basically an apex body which is concerned with making of policies. And dear students, you have the second body, which is the governing body. It is also a tripartite body. It implements the decision of International Labour Conference. Okay, see, I told you International Labour Conference is going to make the rules, but this governing body implements the rules that has been made by International Labour Conference. Okay, now what are the functions of this governing body? To coordinate the work between International Labour Conference and International Labour Office. Okay, so at the top you have International Labour Conference, at the bottom you have International Labour Office. So this governing body acts as a coordinator between these two governing bodies. and then prepares an agenda. See, the agenda that will be discussed in the International Labour Conference, the agenda will be, however, prepared by the governing body. They appoint the Director General of the office. The scrutinizing of the budget will be done by the governing body, and then they follow up with the member states with regard to implementation of conventions. They fix the date, duration, schedule of the agenda for regional conferences. So, dear students, please keep in mind International Labour Conference is basically concerned with framing of policies with regard to the law, whereas the governing body prepares the agenda and what are the issues to be discussed in the meeting. All that will be decided in the governing body. Coming to the third most important body, the International Labour Office. This International Labour Office, of course, this is the secretariat of the ILO in Geneva. What it does, it prepares the documents for agenda of ILC. It assists the government to form labor legislations. Okay. Now, based on whatever recommendations have been given, they try to assist the government to come up with certain implementations. And then the most important function of this International Labour Offices, dear students, they bring out publications, a lot of publications with regard to industrial laborers, the problems that have been faced by the industrial laborers. Regarding that, a lot of publications will be made by this International Labour Office. They carry out functions related to the observation of the conventions. They collect and distribute information on international labor and social problem. That means to say the publication work will be basically done by this International Labour Office. So, dear students, this is again a very important concept from your exam point of view. So, as I mentioned to you, what you need to keep in mind is you need to remember that. So that is now whenever you're writing for the examination, so these concepts which I've discussed from the beginning, so as I told you, starting with the concept of industrial relationship, you need to know about the concept of IR. That is, you also have to know about how exactly the concept of IR, why did it come into existence. You also have to know about the disputes, okay, that is the various disputes, the machineries for the settlement of the disputes. Then you also have to know about trade unions, the workers' participation in management, as well as the ILO. Now, for the next 5 minutes, I will just brief you about all the topics which we have studied, and then I will tell you some suggestions for attending your examination. Okay. Now, dear students, firstly, in the first class, we started about the concept of industrial relationship. I told you that when it comes to the concept of industrial relationship, it is nothing but you should try to maintain cordial relationship in the organization. And then slowly we went to some of the theories that have been discussed in industrial relationship. And then I told you about disputes. Okay. So I mentioned to you that there are various types of causes for disputes that are happening in the organization. So the disputes that happens in the organization can be because of the economic causes. It can be because of political causes and things like that. Okay. And then talking about the disputes, dear students, I told you once there is a dispute, there are chances of going in for a strike. See, with regard to strike, I told you that the employees consider that strike happens to be the weapon in their hands, and also there are various types of strikes, dear students. I told you that you have a stay away strike is there, or you have stay in strike. The tool down strike is also a very popular type of strike. Then the token or protest strike, the lightning strike, the go slow strike. Okay. You have picketing, boycott, geraho, and hunger strike. That means to say All these types of strikes are there, but the employees will adopt this strike as a weapon for satisfying their demands. And on the other hand, dear students, I also told you about the concept of a lockout. I told you that lockout is like a weapon in the hands of the management. Okay, so what the management does is they can think of closing the place of business for a temporary period of time. See, sometimes when the employees go for a strike for a longer period of time, but if the management is not in a position to satisfy their demands, even then they can think of going in for a lockout. Okay, and dear students, I also told you in brief about one more topic, that is about labor welfare officer. So please keep in mind, again, that is an important concept. So what you need to know is a labor welfare officer has been appointed in every factory where there is at least 500 or more workers, and this labor welfare officer is appointed according to section 49 subsection 1 and 2 of the Factories Act. Okay, and what are his duties and responsibilities? He should see to that the employees health and safety measures have been provided, the working conditions that are provided to the workers is good, and they are provided with sanitation and cleanliness facilities, recreation facilities, education, and then housing facilities. So the main idea of this having a labor welfare officer is that he will check if all these facilities have been provided to the employees or not. Okay, and then dear students, very important concept, we discussed about the machineries for industrial disputes. I told you that you have various machineries that are there for the settlement of industrial disputes. The first one I told you was about conciliation. So please keep in mind, conciliation means a conciliation officer will be appointed for the settlement of the dispute, and basically 14 days time will be given for the settlement of the dispute. So if in case the conciliation procedure is not being satisfied, you can refer the case to the board of conciliation for further inquiry. And I told you that the next thing they can do is they can think of going in for the court of inquiry. And dear students, please remember, court of inquiry is basically a fact finding body. It is mainly concerned with finding out the cause for the industrial dispute. And what this court of inquiry does is it takes around 6 months time in order to come to a particular decision. And once they come to a conclusion, they give this particular report to the government, and within 30 days time the government can think of publishing that particular decision. And I told you, dear students, that if in case even the court of inquiry doesn't work out, the next option is arbitration. And please keep in mind, arbitration was a very popular approach which was advocated by Mahatma Gandhi ji himself, and the government also accepted it. Okay, so you can also go for voluntary or compulsory arbitration for the settlement of the dispute. Even then, if the disputes are not settled, you can definitely go for adjudication. And in adjudication, I told you, dear students, you have the labor court is there, the industrial tribunal is there, the national tribunal is also there, wherein you people can go and get the industrial disputes settled. Then after that, machineries for the settlement of industrial dispute, we started with collective bargaining, another very important concept. So as you all know, it was started in Britain and later on brought back to India. And then the idea of having collective bargaining is that representatives of the workers and the management will sit and negotiate on various issues relating to employment. And the idea is they want to negotiate and come to a conclusion rather than going for a strike or a lockout. And even here, under collective bargaining, dear students, the idea is to prevent strike, to resolve all type of conflicts rather than it becoming bigger. And after collective bargaining, I told you about workers' participation in management decision. Yes, dear students, it is nothing but allowing the workers to also give their suggestions, their advice whenever the management wants to take a decision. So when you encourage workers' participation in the management decision, the workers will definitely feel a sense of security, a sense of belongingness. So they are going to put and give their suggestions and advices. Apart from that, I told you about the importance of trade unions. Okay, so trade unions are playing a very important role in safeguarding the interest of the employees in the organization. So whenever there is an issue, the employees can approach the trade union. They can try to settle their disputes in an amicable manner. Okay, so before trade unions were there, the employees were really finding it difficult to settle their grievances, but today, thanks to the trade unions, which are really fighting well for the benefit of the employees. And lastly, one more very, very important concept I told you was about the International Labor Organization. So, dear students, as I told you, ILO came into existence in 1919, and the idea of ILO was they wanted to provide more employment opportunities. They wanted to consider the employees as human beings, and they ILO clearly recommended that you should try to provide a good salary to the employees, and they should be given proper working conditions, and maternity benefits should be given to the women employees in the organizations. Okay, and they wanted the standard of living of the employees to improve in the organization. Okay, and I told you about the three bodies under the ILO. So you have the International Labor Conference is there, you have the governing body, you have the International Labor Office is there. Okay, so these are the concepts that you have to concentrate with regard to industrial relationship. And dear students, let me tell you very clearly, whenever you're appearing for the examinations, you need to keep the study material with you, and also refer to one or two textbooks which we have given as references in the study material. Keep that and then start preparing the notes. And also, the one of the best ways of preparing for the examination is that you people can take some of the previous 4 to 5 years question papers, refer to those question papers, write them down, so that it will be very easy for you to appear in the examination. And as I've told you, as and when there is possible, try to make use of graphical representations, which will really add more marks. Write an introduction and a conclusion whenever it is a 10 and a 15 marks answer. So I hope you people will prepare well for the examination. I wish you all the very best. So consider all these aspects which I've told you and prepare for the examination. And whatever concepts I've told you, kindly give importance to all that, and study from the study material, as well as from one or two textbooks also should be referred. Thank you very much, dear students. I wish you all the very best for your examination.